A Hashtag Studios production. Okay, so this is going to be a quiz video on the 5th chapter of the ITGS textbook, that is being security. And it's going to be a quiz of a couple different questions straight from the textbook, testing your knowledge of the chapter and how well, basically, since you've read it, how well you retain the knowledge. And so they just said, introduction, having read the chapter and all of its details, it's time to test how well you know the content through a series of questions straight from the textbook. As with all the other quiz videos, the best way you do it is the questions are going to be presented first and then the answers later. So after each question, pause it, write down your answers, and you can compare them to the answers in this video and see how they compare. Okay, so question 1. At the 2003 Super Bowl, a new biometric technology was tried out on sports fans for the first time. Facial recognition software, linked to security cameras at the stadium entrances, scanned the face of everybody entering and compared them with a police database of known criminals. Part 1. Unlike most systems, this system did not require people to stand still to submit a biometric sample. It was capable of working from live video feeds. Explain why this is so significant. Part 2. Describe what the risks might be if the system gave a false negative or false positive. Part 3. Discuss the benefits and drawbacks of using such a system. So go ahead and pause the video and record those answers now. Question 2. Some people have suggested that making a small charge for sending an email could drastically reduce the problem of spam. Even a price of 1 cent per email would make mass emailing expensive, but be minor for most users. Discuss the effectiveness of this solution. So go ahead and record your answers. Question 3, Part 1. Define the term WPA. Part 2. Distinguish between the terms spam and phishing. Part 3. Explain the process through which data is encrypted using public key encryption. So take down your answer now. Question 4. Define the term identity theft. Part 2. Define the term farming. Part 3. Explain the measures that could be taken to secure data on a laptop computer. Go ahead and record your last set of answers now. Okay, so these are the answers to those questions. The first question was about the facial recognition software used in the 2003 Super Bowl, and it was capable of working from live video feeds rather than having to stop people to submit a sample. Why was this so significant? Well, this was especially significant because the Super Bowl is an event that draws mass attendance. So imagine if they had to stop every fan walking into that game to scan their faces to record the data and then run it against the criminal database. They'd never get the game going. The Super Bowl wouldn't have happened. So this was so significant because it was able to just check the spectators as they walked right through the stadium, so it wouldn't have an effect on them unless, of course, they registered as the returns came back as a positive and they were one of those criminals registered in the database, which probably wouldn't be too good. But anyways, except for that scenario, none of the people would have been affected, and so it was a security measure, but it didn't have an effect on the overall event. And so the system reduced any negative effects on the innocent audience members, but the important aspect was that the system could catch criminals in the act before they could do anything too harmful. Okay, so the second question was about the small fee for each email sent as a way to prevent spam. And so an analysis of whether or not it will be a successful solution, it would indeed help to lower spam, because spam messages are usually sent out in mass amounts to large amounts of users. And so, at the very least, a fee for each email sent would lower how many people would receive the spam virus at once, and potentially lower how fast those messages circulate. And it may even also, right from the beginning, it may just discourage the creators of spam messages just to abort so that they don't have to pay the fee. Some people might just not want to pay. And so this would, in the end, make email safer and easier, because users' inboxes wouldn't be clogged up with all of the fake spam messages. But there are some problems with this solution, because there are some cases in which people need to send an email to a lot of different people, and it's not spam, it's a legitimate message. An example might be, a large company sending an emergency email to all of its employees. Something like that, where the fee might be some sort of an inconvenience. Okay, so the third question was a multi-part question. It first wanted a definition of WPA. That stands for Wi-Fi Protection Access. It's an encryption protocol that protects internet access and information transfer amongst Wi-Fi enabled devices. The second part wanted to distinguish between spam and phishing. So spam is unwanted email messages sent to many users at once, which are like junk mail. They're usually, advertising products, or they have some intent that isn't necessarily malicious, but it's almost like, like junk mail, annoying messages that nobody really wants to look at. Now, phishing messages are different, and they are sort of messages sent with a malicious attempt, because they're attempting to trick users into providing personal information. They're sort of like scam emails to get you to provide like personal information, financial information, etc., and those messages are able to steal it, and then the sender of the message can use it. And then the third question asked about the public encryption key, and the public encryption key is displayed in the graphic above. The public encryption key encrypts messages by use of a public key, which is paired with its own private key. And the interesting thing is that anyone can know the public key that is assigned to encrypt the message, but only the user can know the private key, which is assigned to decrypt the message. And so this helps decoding the message, and it helps the encryption remain a secret until only the one that needs the message can see it. Alright, and the fourth question was again a multi-part. It wanted a definition of identity theft. Identity theft is a common objective of phishing that involves attempting to steal enough of a user's information to be able to accurately impersonate them. Part B wanted a definition of farming. Farming is a technique used by phishers to create a fake website for users when they enter an actual URL. It's almost as if the fake web page sort of takes the place of the real one. And most of the time, these are pretty good sort of fake outs, and they're attempting to look exactly like the real website, and so when people enter their information in, they're actually sending it to the fake site or the scam. And then the last part of the question wanted a way to back up data on a laptop computer. There's a wide range of protective measures that could be taken, from data backup to antivirus usage that might prevent any sort of malicious software or malicious programs from spam messages. And then there's also just take more careful steps to avoid phishing. Make sure you look at all the messages that you're opening and where you're entering your whatever data it is you need to enter. Make sure you're looking at where you're putting it in, because most of the time there's usually a clear-cut difference between a phishing site and a regular site, and if you can tell that, then you can avoid it most of the time.